So, the big question is this: how are entrepreneurs and real estate investors like us, ones who want to grow our businesses and who are tired of paying for really expensive alternative lending? How do we tap into the most inexpensive money available and do it without the hassle of typical borrowing? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. I'm Merrill Chandler, and welcome to the Are You Effable podcast. You know, this whole Apple credit card, Goldman Sachs, the whole idea of algorithms being designed with gender bias, even with socioeconomic bias, has got that's a burr under my saddle. We're going to talk about this, and we're going to challenge. We're going to challenge everything. So, if you haven't listened to all my previous podcasts, first of all, you got to know I am not an apologist for FICO. I'm not apologist for lenders. I'm not apologist for borrowers. I want to suss out the damn truth and find out what's going on because usually the truth is in the middle ground, right? So here's the first thing that I want to share, that the vast majority of what's going on right now looks like a freaking witch hunt, right? People act like financial algorithms are witchcraft. It goes back to that ugly part of the human lizard brain that says, if I don't understand it, it's evil. But that's the thing we've proven over the last 1,000 years. We've proven it over and over and over again that technological advances are not necessarily evil. And if we don't understand it, it doesn't make it evil. Holy hell, the Spanish Inquisition, because they didn't understand the whole idea of ecstatic spiritual experiences. So, we have to kill them all because what we don't understand is evil. I call bullshit on this whole thing, guys. It's like finding the algorithms today among the vast majority of even the frontline lender staff do not know how algorithms decide fundability or funding approvals. It's like in the middle, if a medieval serf found a flashlight and was like, oh, whoa, look at this thing. I push this button and this light comes on, right? Because they didn't understand it, that person would probably have been burned at the stake because it's not intelligible within the current paradigm of understanding, so that makes it evil, right? So I'm going to take both sides of this argument, but let's walk through this. First, follow the damn money. That is the number one thing in everything we do, especially in the financial world. Follow the money and you'll find the motivations, motivation, opportunity, etc. Okay? So I asked the perennial question that I ask every boot camp, in my book 100 times, and on all of my podcasts. When do lenders make money? When they lend, period. They make money when they lend. That's why we call them lenders. All right? Now, if they make money when they lend, then what does it serve? Let's a smoke-filled room of white men who are all smoking cigars with their brandy sniffers, like every cabal movie on the planet ascribes to the privileged white middle, or the 1%. Okay, what do they win? If that's true, what do they win by not lending to women or to minorities or to whomever? What do they win? They don't win anything. They make money when they lend. And so we've got to follow the money. So let's take a look at this. I did a bunch of research, read several articles, and I have one Q&A that was by a book about, and this would be, so the Twitter thread was done by David Hansen, right? A well-known software engineer, and he posts regularly on his tweet account, and then all of a sudden, the author of this article, this interview, spoke to Cathy O'Neil. Now, she's a mathematician and an author of a book. I love the name of this book. It's called Weapons of Math Destruction. Weapons of Math Destruction. How big data increases inequality and threatens democracy. Now, I don't necessarily agree with the premise that the title of her book. Now, that her book actually conveys. But what I do want to do is ask in this podcast the same question she was asked by the writer of this article. Okay, but in this article, she calls it straight up. So the first thing is, so at first glance, does this seem like a pretty convincing case of algorithm-fueled gender discrimination? She says, first sentence, we don't have enough information to know what is really going on here, right? The truth is that people have all sorts of data that we don't even know about, and our profiles, if they're not accurate, they're available to corporations, Apple, et cetera. We've been talking about this for generations. So many people who are reacting to this stuff are not boot camp grads. They haven't read my book. They don't know that there is a huge automatic underwriting universe that pulls out data from numerous databases, grades all of that data, and gives us a funding decision or not. Now, here's the fascinating thing. She's right on. We don't have enough information about this. But one of the things we need to understand is that the algorithms are designed to do two things. One is designed to protect the lender money by giving that money to someone they trust will treat it well. Okay? They will keep their agreements and pay it back. That's the number one goal of all automatic underwriting systems, is how do we use the data, use the statistics of success and failure, and find out what is the demographic, what is the person by person. Remember, it doesn't matter if you're part of a group or not. Your data is measured, and what this whole and then once that data is measured, you're given a lending decision of approved at the requested amount, approved at a lower amount, or given the or denied. Now, one of the things, let's go back to what was saying that David Hansen was given 20 times higher of a limit than his wife. Now, we don't know from any of their data, we don't know when they filed. Did they file jointly or did they file separately? Is it a joint credit card, or is it, because if it's a joint credit card, it would have been one limit that they both share. So we can presume that they wanted separate, or they filed separate applications. Now, what we also don't know is that Jamie, the wife, says, I've had credit in the US far longer than David, and I've never had a single late payment. I do not have any debts. Now, you guys, David and I share all financial accounts, and my very good credit score is higher than David's. Now, what do you see? Do you see any questions to ask Jamie and any person who's automatically going to gender bias here? You guys are all funding hackers. You guys are all insiders. Do you see any problems in her quote? So she's got better average age than David, but we don't know what she means by credit. Is it secured credit? Is the mortgage in her name? How long has she had credit? And is it unsecured credit cards, right? Because it's like kind lending. the lender's not looking at your car loan and your mortgage history when they're evaluating how you treat unsecured credit cards, right? We know this. But so she says, I've had it far longer than David, but what has she had? She did a mortgage back in the day. She had student loans for 20 years, right? Those aren't relevant to today's approvals. Now, the next thing he said, I've never had a single late payment. Remember how I complain when I go out in the world and everybody's like, why can't I get any funding? I've never been late. And you guys know this. What's my automatic response to anybody who says, why can't I get funding? I've never been late. And what about the other 39 metrics that FICO measures? Being late keeps you in the game. I mean, paying on time keeps you in the game. Being late benches your ass. But she's saying that she's relying on late payment as the only metric of why she got why her husband got 20 times more. The next one, she says, I do not have any debts. So what is the most recent history? Is he running traffic on his credit, but she doesn't run any traffic on her accounts? How many open accounts? She went for a co-branded Neiman Marcus, Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs is a tier 2 institution. It's co-branded so that it's 80% with Apple. What does her husband have in his revolving accounts portfolio? What are the limits that his husband has? If she has equivalent limits, then that's one of the things that we need that we would look at. But she says, I don't have any debts. If she doesn't have a mortgage, doesn't have an auto loan, doesn't have regular ongoing traffic into this experience, what is she going to do? What is she going to do? So, having no debts, remember, FICO and Lender Softwares, what have you done for me lately? And then finally, David and I share all financial accounts. Okay, checking accounts, that's marginal contribution in the FICO score. And my very good credit score is higher than David's. But again, score is not what is accounting here. It's all of the other metrics. So we've got to figure out. The same with Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak, who got it 10 times higher than his wife. But there are so many other metrics that need to be measured to see if this is actually gender specific, if it's gender biased. Now here, so I have this metaphor, and the metaphor is designed to kind of establish. The metaphor is a little nonsensical, but that's where I want to go with it. So we've got to establish. So let me use this metaphor. So somebody could with just as much logic, someone can say, "Hey, why isn't the sky green? Why is the sky not green? It is color biased to blue. I want to know why the sky is not green. There are so many other colors it could be. Why is it blue? There is bias in the universe for creating this result called a blue sky." Now, for those of us who are aware of those things, light filtering through the ozone, light filtering through the stratosphere, and all of the physics, all of the chemistry of light going through our atmosphere creates a blue sky. But someone could just easily say, this is bullshit. The sky, it's the universe is biased to blue skies. That is nonsensical. That argument is nonsensical, but it's based on the same principles that's saying that that the algorithm is gender biased, because all of the math, all of the math is based on what protects lender money. Just so you know, the word is out. 2017, 65% of all mortgages were done by women. 65% in 2017. Up to 80% of all financial debt engagement is by women. These are Bankrate and comptroller of the currency statistics. Up to 80%, depending on what you're defining as revolving, installment, etc. Up to 80% of all credit engagement is done by women. They lead the households. They either lead the households or are charged as part of the financial of separating financial duties between husband and wife. Guys, we need to ask harder questions, because just coming up and saying that, now I'm an Aplophile, right? I'm a FICO-phile. I am but I've got as many complaints against lenders as the next guy. In fact, one of the things that I have an article here that I want to show. It's not an article. It's actually from FICO World. We're going to be doing more deep dives into FICO World because I just got back. But the American Banker did a survey for FICO, asking all executives, and the number of them were were huge. The number of people who were several hundred detailed responses from senior experts. And one of the things that they did that they did ask, which was perfectly timed to this supposed controversy, is they asked, in simulating and validating strategies, many companies make important strategic decisions without first simulating them to understand possible outcomes and unintended consequences. The takeaway is that fintechs believe that they were extremely confident about doing tests to see what the outcomes of these modeling situations in this software, automatic underwriting software, would be. Traditional banks was 5% in their extremely confident in their ability to simulate alternative outcomes so that they could see what the results would be. So if Goldman Sachs is moving into personal and business lending, but it would be classified as a fintech. So they are, I don't know what their answers were, but they would, if they fall into that 20%, they're only 20% confident of testing their software to see what the outcomes would be. Now, I'm not saying testing the software is going to show a gender bias. Lenders want to lend. And if somewhere between 65 and 80% of women are making the financial engagements, right? They're the ones applying for credit. Why in the hell why would lenders want to discriminate against women? They're the single largest demographic who are engaging credit. Come on. It's witchcraft. Algorithms are witchcraft. And so unless, and I learned this so long ago, this is one of my Merrillisms, right? And later on, I'm producing a book of all of my Merrillisms that does a deep dive into every one of these. But one of the things that I learned a long time ago is that we are not critical enough. We are critical to engage an argument to support our comfort zone and our beliefs about something. So if somebody walks around filtering their lives for gender bias or socioeconomic bias, they're going to find socioeconomic bias everywhere they go. I'm going to stand by this. Now, I acknowledge that there is socioeconomic bias. I acknowledge that there is gender bias. But you know where that bias comes from? Meeting one-on-one with bankers in the branches trying to engage credit. Humans are biased. The math is not. Now, I will eat my words. You will see me right here in a week, a month, a year, whatever it is, where somebody comes up and they prove that there was a gender bias in this software. I will eat my words. I will apologize profusely, and I will say, that one I got wrong. But listen to my argument. Are we being critical enough? The bias, the gender bias, is in the human engagement of these loans. The socioeconomic bias, the racial bias, is in the humans being involved, not the math. The math is designed to make profitable decisions with everybody, regardless of race, creed, color, gender, or sexual preference. It's designed to make freaking money. And they're not, and damn it, 65 to 80%, depending on the metric you're measuring, 65 to 80% of financial credit engagements are done by women. They are not going to push that demographic away by biasing against them. Come on, that's insanity. All right. So, is the answer done? No. We don't know. So there's been great responses out there that without giving up the IP, you can actually do testing. Well, we're gonna, in upcoming episodes, we're going to be talking about a number of subjects that we got from FICO in this FICO world that show brand new scoring models. And I'm telling you, these scoring models are designed to protect lender income or lender resources. But guess what it's also designed to do? It's designed to move all of the decisioning away from biased human beings. It's called the one of them is called the FSSI, right? The Financial Score Stress Indicator. And it's designed to protect lender money. Now, remember, when I say protect lender money, you need to hear at the exact same time, give me an opportunity to get funding because I know the rules of how to get a yes. That's what these algorithms mean, guys. That's what they mean. So please forgive me if you're incensed by this. You don't even have to agree. Ultimately, it's not witchcraft. It's beyond the comprehension of most of us, including me. I don't know how to read an algorithm logic trail, data lakes, and decision trees that lead to decision tree forests. I barely comprehend some of this stuff. What I do comprehend through and through is lender profit motive. That I got dialed. So don't get lost in the BS that's going on out there, trying to make pariah of lending decisions when someone who says who they themselves say, I don't have any debts. Of course you're going to get a test limit. Holy hell. If you don't have any debts and you've never made a late payment and you share financial accounts, she's missing. She does not know what makes her fundable. So until I get her myfico.com credit profile and his myfico.com profile and put them together, then I'm not going to get my undies in a bungee because it's not biased. It's biased towards profitability. Sorry, I take it back. It is biased. It's biased towards profitability, and women are making the financial decisions to a significant degree, and the lenders would be foolish to bias against the people, their greatest successful demographic. All right. So now they talk about fairness. Fairness is not giving everybody money equally, but that's what it's. They would have to define what it means to be fair with respect to gender, fair with respect to race, or fair with respect to veteran status, or whatever the protected class is. But that very thing is, the algorithm is designed to not play that game. Now, some people can argue, well, yeah, Merrill, but there's you tell us in the boot camp that there is a revenue score where the the revenue score is designed to create is a score that tells a lender how much money they can anticipate from a particular score and a particular zip code. Now, remember, the zip code is designed. Yeah, there are zip codes that are only Black and African Americans. There's Latin zip codes. There are Asian zip codes. There are Caucasian zip codes. And there's WASP zip codes, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant male, older male, 1%ers. There are zip codes. But even the revenue score, guys, is what is the score and how much will they make depends on their income. They're in the zip code, generally speaking. Most people reside in a zip code because that is the socioeconomic location of their current wages, income, and compensation, right? And so if they have a good score, they very well may be trustworthy. If they're firing on all of the qualification metrics, they're going to make money. But they may not get as much of a limit because there's only so much money that is disposable income. The income drives the lower limit. The ability to pay drives the lower limit. It's just math. Your race doesn't drive your lower limit or higher limit. It's your income, and income is covered by Falcon and all the application fraud management mechanisms that FICO and the lenders use. We're going to have another podcast on that. But do you see what I'm saying? It's not where you live, is that where you live is reasonably, not always, I'm only speaking in generalities, reasonably is an indicator of your ability or your revenue. You live in that zip code because that's the type of home, apartment, housing, etc. that you can afford. That's based on revenues. Now, is there gender bias on salaries? All of the studies are in that there is a significant bias. But guess what? That bias is not driven by hiring algorithms, guys. That is bias is men in power, women in power are looking at women. I've heard both sides of this argument. Men discriminate against women in the salary process. Other women discriminate against women because they said, you got to earn your chops just like I did. Whatever the reason, it's human bias, not algorithm. If we did hiring through algorithms, we'd probably have way less, if not completely remove the wage bias. You could do this job based on the 40, let's say hiring metrics had 40 calculations just like FICO does. You know what? I bet you there'd be no bias in hiring anymore. So humans are biased, not algorithms. And I'm willing to be wrong, but when you follow the math and you follow human nature for the last zillion years, that what you don't understand is evil, then this algorithm, automatic underwriting systems are just a flashlight in medieval Europe. We will all come to understand this over time. There will be more and more modeling where it will become more and more consumer friendly, borrower friendly, but it's just a flashlight in medieval times. So, this is a great forum. Thanks for listening. I hope you made it to the end, because I'm biased against bias, damn it. But it's not the math that's biased. It's us humans. So have a spectacular rest of your day. This is Merrill Chandler, your host of Are You Effable? And the most powerful way to become fundable is to optimize your borrower behaviors in alignment with these very algorithms and models. And we will continue to be successful beyond every person who doesn't. Have a great afternoon. Bye. Hey guys, thank you for listening to Are You Effable? Please leave comments because I would love to read about your aha moments from this episode. And be sure to visit fundinghackers.com to view the blog post, get important links, join our community, and much, much more. And you gotta tell your friends about this podcast. We want them to become effable too.